What's up, you guys? Welcome to the video. Today is a Spin Master Monster Jam collection video. It's Wednesday, so we'll go ahead and start with Gears Blue Thunder. Now this thing. Gold chassis wheels with white roll cage and tires with gold beaky printing with Astro Tread. Moving on to Ice Grave Digger. Now this thing. Blue chassis and wheels with white roll cage with white beaky printing with clear blue wheat tires with white ice treads. Moving on to Zombie Megalodon. Now this thing. Black chassis with red roll cage with green wheels with black beaky printing with zombie glitter treads. Moving on to Galaxy's Monster Mud Dalmatian. Now this thing. Sign chassis, beaky printing and B-locks with black roll cage and black wheels with Galaxy Purple treads. Moving on to Fire Son of a Digger. Now this thing. Red chassis and wheels with yellow roll cage with red beaky printing with orange tires with yellow fire tread. Moving on to Hunter Max D. Now this thing. Gray chassis with brown roll cage with mahogany wheels and chrome beaky printing with Hunter Gray treads. Moving on to Gears Alien Invasion. Everything looks the same as the Blue Thunder. Moving on to Ice Dragon. Everything looks the same as Gravedigger. Moving on to Zombie El Toro Loco. Now this thing. Black chassis with yellow roll cage with red wheels with black beaky printing with zombie glitter treads. Moving on to Galaxy's Bakugan Dragonoid. Everything looks the same as the Dalmatian. Moving on to Fire Great Clips Mohawk Warrior. Everything looks the same as Son of a Digger. Moving on to Hunter Earthshaker. Everything looks the same as the Max D. Moving on to the Neo Galaxy Gravedigger. Now this thing. White chassis with light purple roll cage with pink wheels, teal tires with white beaky printing. Moving on to the Nitro Gravedigger. Now this thing. Pink chassis with black roll cage and wheels with purple beaky printing and B-locks with teal wheels. Moving on to Beakity Customs Gravedigger. Now this thing, silver chassis and wheels with green roll cage and bead locks with BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Gravedigger Orange. Now this thing, silver chassis with orange roll cage and wheels, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Gravedigger Red. Now this thing, silver chassis with red roll cage and wheels, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Gravedigger Purple. Now this thing, black chassis with purple roll cage and wheels, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Son of a Digger. Now this thing, silver chassis and wheels with blue roll cage with purple bead locks, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Son of a Digger Yellow. Now this thing, silver chassis with and wheels with yellow roll cage with purple bead locks, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Bad News Travels Fast. Now this thing, orange chassis with black roll cage with orange bead locks with silver wheels, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Aftershock. Now this thing, yellow chassis and wheels with blue roll cage, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Rainbow Blast. Now this thing, red chassis with white roll cage and wheels, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Kraken. Now this thing, copper chassis with dirt brown roll cage, pink wheels, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Velociraptor. Now this thing, black chassis with silver chassis with black roll cage and wheels, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Jurassic Attack. Now this thing, silver chassis with purple roll cage and wheels, BKT printed tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Northern Nightmare. Now this thing. Silver chassis with red roll cage with orange wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Blue Thunder. Now this thing. Green silver chassis with green roll cage and wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Time Flies. Now this thing. Silver chassis and roll cage with black wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Lucas Stabilizer. Now this thing. Silver chassis with black roll cage, red wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs El Toro Loco. Now this thing. Black chassis with silver roll cage, orange wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Earthshaker. Now this thing. Silver chassis and wheels with yellow wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Dragon. Now this thing. Silver chassis with black roll cage, green wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Megalodon. Now this thing. Silver chassis and roll cage with aqua wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Avenger. Now this thing. Silver chassis with black roll cage, red wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Big Kahuna. Now this thing. Silver chassis with black roll cage, blue wheels because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Zombie. Now this thing. Yellow chassis and wheels with maroon roll cage because for the tires. Moving on to BKT Customs Max D. Now this thing. Silver chassis with green roll cage and wheels because for the tires. And now, moving on to the original Gravedigger. Now this thing. silver chassis with black roll cage and tires with yellow wheels. Moving on to Gravedigger the Legend. Now this thing. Black chassis wheels and tires. Black chassis roll cage and tires with silver wheels. Moving on to the Retro Gravedigger. Now this thing. Black chassis and tires with green roll cage and wheels. Moving on to Gravedigger number 7. Now this thing. Silver chassis and wheels with green roll cage with flotation tires. Moving on to the Green Ghost Gravedigger. Now this thing. Also a black silver chassis and wheels with green roll cage with flotation tires. Moving on to the 30th anniversary Gravedigger. Now this thing. Silver chassis and wheels with green roll cage and B-locks with white wheels. Moving on to the 40th anniversary Gravedigger. Now this thing. Silver chassis with purple B-locks with black roll cage and tires. Moving on to Son of a Digger. Now this thing. Silver chassis and wheels with blue roll cage and B-locks with black wheels. Moving on to 1982, the original Gravedigger. Now this thing. Silver chassis with black chassis with yellow wheels, flotation tires. Moving on to 1984 Grain Truck Gravedigger. Now this thing. Black chassis and wheels with flotation tires. Moving on to 1986 Grandma Gravedigger. Now this thing. Black chassis with brown wheels, flotation tires. Moving on to the Gravedigger Ride Truck. Now this thing. Green chassis and wheels with black tires and seats in the back. Moving on to the green Nitro Neon Gravedigger. Now this thing. green chassis wheels and green chassis roll cage and tires with white wheels. Moving on to the blue Nitro Neon Son of a Digger. Now this thing light blue chassis and tires with dark blue roll cage with white wheels. Moving on to the yellow Nitro Neon Earthshaker. Now this thing got yellow chassis and tires with brown roll cage with white wheels. Moving on to the pink Nitro Neon Calavera. Now this thing, chassis, wheels, roll cage, and tires all pink. Moving on to the teal Nitro Neon Blue Thunder. Now this thing, got teal chassis and wheels with brown roll cage and tires. Moving on to the lime green Nitro Neon Gravedigger. Now this thing, silver chassis wheel, green chassis wheels and tires with black roll cage. Moving on to the yellow 2024 Neon Max, the green 2024 Neon Max T. Now this thing, green chassis and wheels with silver roll cage with yellow tires. Moving on to the orange 2024 Neon Max D. Now this thing, silver chassis with orange chassis and wheels with silver roll cage with yellow tires. Moving on to the orange Nitro Neon Max T. Now this thing, orange chassis, wheels, and tires with yellow black roll cage. Moving on to the yellow Nitro Neon Max T. Now this thing, silver chassis with yellow roll cage and tires with black wheels. Moving on to the green Nitro Neon Max T. Now this thing, silver chassis with green roll cage and tires with black wheels. Moving on to the purple Nitro Neon Max T. Now this thing, purple chassis, wheels, and tires with white roll cage. Moving on to Custom Elementals Trucks Gravedigger. Now this thing, purple chassis with black roll cage with green and yellow wheels on the left and orange and red wheels on the right with blue tires. Moving on, last but not least, to custom phased out Son of a Digger. Now this thing. White chassis with black roll cage with 2 red wheels, 1 black wheel, 1 white wheel with 2 white tires and 2 black tires. And now that's it for the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. Or also turn on the notifications to Parker Wilson's Blinking and Amigos. Have a good day. Goodbye.